and Ben Edwards.
Last week in Michigan, the FedEx Championship Series saw Juan Montoya and Michael Andretti put on a grandstand finish. Into turn number 3, slightly ahead, does he? Then side by side, it's going to be a photo finish in the flag here, and Montoya on the outside, they touch wheels, Montoya on the outside, Andretti on the inside, photo finish, Montoya gets it, Montoya wins at Michigan, and what a finish! I have never seen anything like it. Montoya beats the steering wheel. That was just incredible. Now the teams come to the 1 mile oval in Chicago, where the battles start afresh. Round 12 of the FedEx Championship Series comes from the Chicago Motor Speedway, just a few miles from downtown Chicago itself. Hello and welcome. I'm Ben Edwards with Jeremy Shaw, and we're looking forward to some more fantastic racing. I don't know if it'll be quite as exciting as last week, Jeremy, but we're certainly hoping so. Juan Montoya maintains his 100% qualifying record on the 1 mile ovals this year. He's been on pole every time. Alongside him, Helio Castroneves, his third front row start of the season. The second row, Tony Kanaan, best qualifying effort for the Monon team so far, and Kenny Breck, who finished third at the 1 mile at Nazareth this year.
All the Toyota drivers qualified with a single turbo engine seen at Michigan. Just a matter, though, is running one in a race. Alongside him, Max Papis. On row 4, Paul Tracy, who's running well with the cool car, and the rookie Canadian Alex Tagliani.
Ninth on the grid, it's Jimmy Vasser, who finished third here last year, and Gilles de Ferran, who's racing with a cast on his broken index finger. Dario Franchitti lines up 11th on the grid. He finished third last weekend at Michigan. And funnily enough, Patrick Carpentier finished 1 place behind him on that occasion.
Roberto Moreno, he was here as a substitute role last year, now with a full-time ride, Patrick Racing. Alongside him, that excellent young Spanish driver, Oriol Serbia, on row 8. Michael Andretti, he struggled all the weekend with that Lola, and Mauricio Gugelmin.
And then 17th on the grid, it's Mark Blundell, whose best finish this year has been a 7th place. Michel Jourdain has failed to finish the last 4 races. He starts 18th. 19th on the grid, Adrian Fernandez, who now lies 6th in the championship. Mimo Gidley's 20th. He scored some 3 points in Michigan.
Walter Salas sitting in this weekend for Tokuya Kurosawa, injured last week at Michigan, and the other Japanese driver, Shinji Nakano. On row 12, the last row of the grid, Tazo Marquez and Luis Garcia Jr.
And cars competing at speeds of up to 200 miles an hour, and we're going to get ready for... Oh, and Max Papis on fire. Max Papis, as they get ready to take green. Papis heading for pit lane, and fire belching its way from under the engine cover of Max Papis' car.
Yeah, that's bad news for Max Papis. That'll be the end of his race. Meanwhile, the track does go green, and Montoya gets a great start to leap out in front.
So Montoya leads. Helio Castroneves second. Kenny Breck in the shell car in third position, and it's Tony Kanaan right in behind them. Tony Kanaan held pole position here yesterday for most of qualifying, it seemed, and was just pipped towards the end by Castroneves and Montoya. But Kanaan's in great form. Look at Vasser. Vasser making a move past Paul Tracy there, and that gains him a position. Gilles de Ferran trying to go around the outside. Almost contact between them, but they do get away with it. Meanwhile, Papis' car in the pits and the fire being put out with scenes of ferocious activity down in the Team Rahal pit, as Michael Andretti there starting well down the field on this occasion on the 8th row, desperately trying to make up some ground. Dario Franchitti running in 10th place and now trying to take 9th from Alex Tagliani. The Scotsman makes it through safely.
Yeah, nice move there by Dario at turn 3. As the leaders come across the line, you can see the first two a little bit clear of Kenny Breck in 3rd place. And there the 2 players' cars. Tagliani trying to make a move on Carpentier.
Yes, very nearly managed to do it as well. The Franchitti passed both those players' cars, but now they're dicing together themselves. Gilles de Ferran is just slightly ahead of them, and Michael Andretti tucked in behind. He's in 12th position. Remember, he started in 15th, so he's made up a bit of ground already, but he's got a lot of work to do as he comes here to Chicago to defend that 14-point championship lead.
And some good shuffling positions already in these early stages here, but Juan Montoya is out in front, and look at this dicing down the field of 2 players' cars there. This is in actual fact Tagliani ahead of Patrick Carpentier, but they are very, very closely matched clearly in the early stages.
Yes, and we've seen both of them race hard in recent races. Let's just see what they can achieve. We saw Team Rahal down there. That was Max Papis' car being pushed away, and Max's race over before it even began today. So Papis out of this race, and he's had a really tough time recently. He retired at the end of the last race at Michigan. He still scored points for 9th. He was 8th in Toronto, but a number of non-finishes this season for Max Papis have really dented his challenge for the championship. Up front is this man once again, Juan Montoya, who, as I mentioned at the start, has a 100% record of qualifying on these 1 mile ovals this year. He qualified on pole at Nazareth, he was on pole at Milwaukee, and dangerously for everyone else here today, he won Milwaukee pretty easily, taking Toyota's first victory of the season. Welcome back to Chicago Motor Speedway. We're under yellow, the first caution of the day, and also Mark Blundell, as you can see, is out of his car. That car came into the pits a few moments ago, extremely smoky, and they've taken the engine cover off. He's out of the car, and I think the yellow caused by oil laid down by Mark's car, so that is the end of the day for him.
That's right, and that's the 6th time in 12 races he has failed to reach the finish, and a 3rd time in a row, so yet more disappointment there for Mark Blundell.
Great shame. Well, we might see an odd couple of pit stops coming up here. For those running towards the back of the field, might take advantage of an early stop after 21 laps. Montoya leads. Now, Max Papis was the one who was really unlucky. As the race was about to start, his car caught fire, and he headed back into pit lane as the leaders went around. And you can see how angry he was. Look at that, slamming down on the side pod. He's had so much bad luck in recent races, and it's nearly always been at the start of the race. Now, let's go down to pit lane. I think we can hear from Mark Blundell, who's just climbed out.
Related to that, do you think? We lost an engine this morning, unfortunately, and there seems to be some problem again in the rear of the car there, and something gone on, but you know, it's just very frustrating. We're trying very hard. We're having a lot of bad luck, and I know everybody's putting all their efforts and their commitments together, but we're just not getting it to come together for us on race day, and it's costing us dearly.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Mark Blundell, the disappointment visible on his features there. Michael Andretti coming into the pits. Now, this is interesting. Running in 12th place.
Look for Timmy in the pit lane, Mike.
Now, these guys towards
watch your speed and hit your marks.
The back of the lead group, just taking the advantage of an early pit stop here, which may well benefit them later in the race. The leaders, of course, staying out. They've only completed 22 laps, and that's only about a 1/3 distance through the first stint in terms of fuel.
Yeah, and this stage in the game, nothing to lose for these guys. It's fairly marginal to reach the finish. Yeah, and there goes Michael Andretti. Good stop for him. He stays out ahead of the pack of cars that did come in. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in all. The others were the 2 Dale Coyne cars that took care of Gualter Salas and Marquez, and also Mimo Gidley and Shinji Nakano.
But it is Juan Montoya who leads as we're under caution here in Chicago. It goes green as we come back to the Chicago Motor Speedway. The green flag waves, and we're up to racing speed once again. Juan Montoya leads on lap number 26 from Helio Castroneves in second, Kenny Breck in third, and somebody's just run into the back of Gualter Salas. Like, oh, and we've got accident damage down there. It's Gidley.
Yes, Gidley and Gualter Salas there. They were running in 18th and 19th with Salas ahead of Gidley, and apparently contact going into turn 1, and it's Salas that ends up in the wall.
Oh, that is a great shame. Gualter Salas standing in for Takuya Kurosawa this weekend. As we mentioned, the Japanese driver who got injured in Michigan last week in a practice accident and still very, very sore from his ribs. And Gualter Salas standing in for him. Didn't get much running on Friday. They had engine problems. And now let's take a look and see if we can identify what happened. Well, they're already tangled here. Gidley in the red car coming down, and Salas in the orange car, hitting the wall pretty hard on the outside.
Yeah, very hard there, and that left front suspension there took a pretty fair impact there, and that would have been knocked back hard against the tub. And we can see that the impact's already happened, the collision between the two, and certainly Gidley was behind as they came down past the stripe, and one has to presume he was trying to make a move down there into turn 1.
Well, they are getting out there to try and sort that out as quickly as possible. Let's hope that Gualter's okay.
Yeah, he's back
Let's
out
hear
here
now from Max Papis.
Kenny Breck's pit. Max, did you have any warning, any indication that there was a problem as you got ready to go green?
When I was warming the tire up, you know, I saw a little bit of smoke in the cockpit. I checked back, and I'm very sad for my Miller crew. They're working so hard for me, and it's so disappointing, you know, 7 DNF. But we're going to come back strong.
And we're ready to go green once again. Montoya begins to pick up some speed, chased by Helio Castroneves. and Kenny Breck. Remember, this is where Montoya is normally so impressive on cold tyres as he tries to establish an advantage again. Across the line he goes, and they take the green flag, and look at Kenny Breck. Kenny Breck making the move on Castroneves into second place as they turn into turn number 1, and Kenny Breck in the Shell car has taken that second position, and in fact Castroneves coming under some pressure now from Tony Kanaan.
Yes, he is, and also, I think Castroneves maybe has a problem there, dropping way back, and Jimmy Vasser just squeezes inside and going into turn 3, but very close, and Castroneves clearly has some kind of a problem.
Yeah, he's in trouble, and Gilles de Ferran's going to be coming up past him in a moment to pass his teammate, and Castroneves really struggling. Franchitti will be the next one to go past, and what a disappointment for Helio Castroneves. It doesn't look as though he's going to win this one today. Montoya is our race leader, but Helio Castroneves dropping further and further down the pack.
Yeah, and everybody is streaming past him now. Meanwhile, we're on board here with Jimmy Vasser, and Vasser has moved up into 6th place, and he's looking pretty racy, although he actually was passed by Paul Tracy at that restart.
Right, well, Jimmy Vasser we're looking at the moment, just being followed closely by Gilles de Ferran. De Ferran could be the only Team Penske entry in this one, I think.
Pit this lap, pit this lap.
Listening to his pit radio, and he's being
inside, watch your inside.
He's been told to pit this lap, but he couldn't really get in that time. So we'll wait and see what happens as he comes around. I think we will be seeing him
Pit, Elio, pit.
come into the pits, and they're certainly requesting him to come in. Now then, back with our race leader Juan Montoya, who's just lapped Nemo Gidley. Gidley survived that accident with Gualter Salas, so he's still, and look at it, there we go. It's blown up big time now, and Helio Castroneves is definitely trying to get back to the pit lane, but he's only halfway up the back stretch here, and flames bursting out of the back of that car. Dramatic pictures indeed. And what's going on here today, Jeremy? We've got all sorts of engine problems.
Yeah, massive blow up. Look at that. Absolutely huge. And clearly the crew knew in the pits before Elio really knew anything was wrong.
Get out.
And they're telling him to vacate the premises. And he does so. Smart move there. He sees the kart safety team in turn 3, pulls down to them so they can extinguish the flames, and out steps a very disappointed, very frustrated Helio Castroneves.
Well, he's such an emotional driver, isn't he, that, again, you can see the body language there. It's clear how disappointed he is. And just, again, the run doesn't seem to be quite going his way. Finished 5th in Michigan last week. Failed to finish in Toronto before that. Had an accident in Cleveland before that. And it just doesn't quite seem to be coming together for him. So, Helio Castroneves steps away after this. Let's take a look. This is when the engine blew. Honda motor in the back of that one. And it's an ex-Honda motor now. Look at the smoke and flames coming out of the back of it. It's pretty impressive.
It certainly is. Once again, nothing trivial there, clearly. And actually, we saw in Toronto, it was actually during practice that Castroneves had a failure there as well. It blew the whole plenum chamber off the top of the engine. And there's the pit lane there. That's Roger Penske on the radio with
the president of Penske Racing. What happened?
On the restart, obviously, he started losing power. Don't really know why. It's a shame that, the Marlboro Team Penske car was really, really good today. We were just waiting to take a run at Montoya later in the race, and he just came across, and it seemed like I don't know, it was a lack of power, whether it was a boost-related thing or what happened there, we're not sure.
So your telemetry won't tell you anything specific? Was there a loss of oil pressure, for instance?
No, nothing like that. We thought we might have a boost problem, so we were doing the various adjustments in the car and turning the boost down and that type of thing, and we'd meant to come in a lap earlier. He got caught in traffic where he couldn't come down soon enough, so therefore, we ended up on the racetrack, which isn't what we wanted.
Okay, guys, and here come the leaders on the pit road.
Well, yes, most of the leaders, but not Kenny Breck. Kenny Breck's decided to stay out there, but Juan Montoya comes in, as does Tony Kanaan, Cristiano de Mana, Paul Tracy. So most of the leaders coming in, but interestingly, Kenny Breck staying out there. So a difference in strategy. Montoya slides to a halt, right on the marks. That was a beautiful example of how to stop in the right place. Onboard camera with Rob Hill. And Montoya gets away out in front, no problem at all for him.
You're okay.
And just looking down the rest of the field, I think everyone's getting away cleanly. Tracy, oh, that was close. I don't know who got across the line first, whether it was Tracy or Kanaan. That may have to be sorted by CART themselves. They'll call that to the teams.
Yeah, they both of them think they beat the other one out, and they're going to argue about it and let CART make the final call. But there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that elected not to pit. Or he's 5 guys on the lead lap. Michael Andretti, of course, was one of those. He'd already made a pit stop. Tarzan Marquez, another ditto for him. But Kenny Breck and Jimmy Vasser and Michel Jourdain Jr. all have not yet made a pit stop.
So we're going to have a game of strategy as well as racing here today. Stay with us. there is a lapped car. That's Mimo Gidley, who's actually second on the road there. You look from Jimmy Vassar's car. Jimmy's second position, but he's got a car between him and the leader. That car has been lapped. Now here we are beginning to pick up the speed as they accelerate around to take the green flag. Kenny Breck puts the hammer down. Mimo Gidley tries to follow, and here they come around to start another lap. Breck, Gidley about to be lapped by Jimmy Vassar, then Jourdain, and then in the background keep an eye on the likes of Juan Montoya, who is now back down into 6th place. Up the back stretch, Kenny Breck with that slight advantage. Jimmy Vassar, who has to find a way past Mimo Gidley, but Gidley running quickly at the moment. Remember, Gidley driving the Della Penna car instead of Norberto Fontana, the Argentinian. And Gidley drove well enough at Michigan last week to earn himself another ride here this weekend. Looking there at Montoya, who's in 6th, D'Amata in 7th, and Paul Tracy running in 8th.
That's right, Tracy had got past Tony Kanaan at that restart, so Paul Tracy making up one more position on the track. In the meantime, we're on board now with the second place car of, no, that's Juan Montoya's car, isn't it, we're on board with there. Right behind him there is Cristiano D'Amata, and you can see behind D'Amata is Paul Tracy.
That's right, and behind them Tony Kanaan, De Ferran, Carpentier, Franchitti's now down to 12th. Roberto Moreno is in 13th place. Not a very strong showing from Moreno as yet, as Montoya comes under pressure from Cristiano D'Amata there, and doesn't quite make the move. Now remember, they're both running Toyota engines, but the engine in the back of D'Amata's car is this single turbo unit that Toyota have produced this year, really upping the ante with the engine development program. It looked to be an engine they would only use for qualifying at the super speedways, but it's run so effectively here this weekend in qualifying, they've decided to run it in the race itself for Cristiano, whereas Juan Montoya's gone back to the conventional engine for the race. He used the special one for qualifying, but back to the normal motor for the race distance here this afternoon.
And it's interesting to me that Tarzan Marquez running pretty well there, just right behind Michael Andretti, and Andretti making absolutely no impression whatsoever on the similar Lola chassis, albeit with a Mercedes engine, of Michel Jourdain Jr., who is ahead of Mikey, and Mikey now running in 4th place. Jourdain an excellent 3rd, and hanging on extremely well to Jimmy Vassar in 2nd place.
Yes, so we see quite a change here. Lap number 48. Kenny Breck, our race leader, and yet to win a race in the Champ Cars yet, as you remember. His first season of Champ Car racing, but coming from the IRL. He's won IRL races. He's won the biggest race, if you like, in many ways, in single-seater terms in America, and that, of course, is the Indy 500, which he won last year. And Kenny has been competitive on all the ovals this season, that's for sure. But we're still back with this battle between Montoya and D'Amata. You're looking right back into the car of Cristiano D'Amata, the young Brazilian who's been very impressive in recent races and who last week announced that he will be staying with that PPI Motorsports team for the foreseeable future. Meanwhile, back with our race leader, there he is, Kenny Breck in the white and yellow car, chased by Jimmy Vassar. Vassar, the other of the Ganassi racers, who this year, again, has had a bit of a disappointing time. It's been a while since Jimmy's last victory. In fact, it came at the end of the 1998 season. And ever since he's been partnered with Juan Montoya, Jimmy has failed to win a race, which is something he would like to redress here this afternoon.
There is Kenny Breck looking very, very smooth out in front of this field. He's lapping very consistently now, around about 24.3 seconds, which is about 152 mile-an-hour average around this track. And he's certainly got a pretty comfortable lead now, 1.7 seconds over Jimmy Vassar. Plus, of course, he has the lapped car, the twice-lapped car of Mimo Gidley behind him. Has a bit of a buffer as well in case he needs it, which at this stage he actually doesn't, because Kenny really is looking good. Very, very smooth, as I say, very consistent at the front of the field.
We've just heard good news that Walter Sales, who crashed earlier on, if you remember, in that incident with Mimo Gidley, he's been to the medical centre and he's fine, totally unhurt. So Walter Sales, disappointing to see him crash out, but he is okay. Looking out of the back now of Jimmy Vassar's car, looking back towards Michel Jourdain Jr. And good to see Michel Jourdain running as competitively as this today. He's had a disappointing season, a number of non-finishes recently. Started in 18th place, and courtesy of deciding to stay out and not coming into the pits on that last yellow, he's now running in a competitive 3rd position.
Yeah, very good run indeed by young Jourdain. He's hanging on to the tail of Jimmy Vasser. He's certainly every bit as quick as Vasser, and they're all running. Everyone's running the same sort of speeds, really. Mid 24 seconds or a little bit under that. Perhaps last time around we're 24.5 for Kenny Breck, 151 miles an hour, and that pace really run by just about everybody all the way down the order.
Montoya, funnily enough, up behind the man who helped him last week. He's up behind Tarso Marquez, and it was that little bit of a toe that he got from the back of Marquez's car that enabled him to sneak past Michael Andretti on the final lap in Michigan. Well, now he finds he's got to try and lap.
To get around this guy,
Ganassi coming on the radio to say, come on, we need to get around this guy. We need to get around Marquez. And that's true.
That is true. You're absolutely right. And certainly now Marquez is losing out to Michael Andretti, and the gap is extending between Michael Andretti in 4th place and Juan Montoya in 5th. But Marquez has excellent power coming off the corners, and certainly Montoya closes up at the end of the straight, but he cannot get close enough to make that move.
And it just shows you, as we found earlier on this season with the Mark II Hanford wing, how difficult it is to overtake on these 1 mile ovals with this Mark II Hanford wing. And you can see, even for a man of Montoya's abilities, how difficult it is once he comes up behind another car, how difficult it is to overtake. Again, trying to get the run off turn 2. Now, he's got a good run going here, but I don't think it's going to be long enough to be able to dive down underneath him into turn 3. Has to think about it, but he's not really close enough and has to tuck in behind him again. And it takes another lap back. Oh, look at that! And he's angry. Now, that was because he's getting frustrated and also losing some downforce.
Yeah, and it's a tough situation. As of course, Marquez, that is a battle for position. He's very upset. He believes the blue flag should be waved by the starter, Jim Swintal. And as I say that, Swintal does actually bring out the blue flag, and we'll see whether he waves it at Tarso Marquez as he comes past. He certainly has not waved it yet, and he does not wave it now either. So certainly in the view of the officials, it certainly is a legitimate battle for position, and the officials believe it's up to Montoya to make the pass. And I have to say, I have to agree with them.
Yes, because Marquez is in a justified 5th place because he didn't stop earlier on. So that's why Marquez is in 5th place, and there's no reason why he should move out of Montoya's way any more than someone like Michael Andretti should move out of Montoya's way. So he holds on to 5th place, 6th place for Montoya. Look at Kanaan now. Tony Kanaan making a little move there on Paul Tracy. Well, that was good and clean. Now, it can be done. You can overtake here.
Yes, you can. What a great move by Paul Tracy. Very clean. He got a run off turn 4, which is what Marquez has been able to stave off from Montoya. And they're coming close. Montoya is getting increasingly frustrated here. And look at him sideways there. He gets the power on coming off that corner, up that gear into top gear. But Marquez, that Ford Cosworth engine, has plenty of horsepower. And look at now Yamada looking down the inside.
Yeah, Montoya's got to be patient here. He's struggling a little bit to get past. But
he's getting a blocking warning flag right now.
And they say he's going to get a blocking warning flag. Montoya still waving around, still angry. But really, I can't say that it's justified. Marquez is just driving. He is getting a blocking warning. And I find that very strange, I have to say.
Yeah, he's not weaving around at all. He's maintaining his line. He's doing absolutely everything you're supposed to do, is Tarso Marquez so far. Here's Montoya on the outside.
Oh dear, oh dear. Now that is brave. He's assuming that Marquez is going to get out of the way. Now I think he will as they go up to turn number 3. Montoya completes the move. Boy, Montoya was certainly keen to get past, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, and quite rightly so, but I still think that call was unjustified by the officials. It's up to Montoya to make the pass. That's what strategy is all about, Marquez. Their strategy was to stay out. Montoya's was to come in. That's not Marquez's fault. That's Montoya's fault, if you like. If you want to apportion any blame, it's just racing, and they are racing for position.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that, and I think that's a little unjustified to have given the warning flag there to Marquez. But let's just keep an eye on what's going on here, because Cristiano D'Amata and Tony Kanaan continue to battle, and this is for 7th place. Here we are, another replay of Montoya trying to go around the outside of Marquez at turn 2.
Yeah, that's a pretty brave move, that, and he makes it. He gets alongside there, and he thinks, am I going to get run into the wall? I hope not. Well, he doesn't, and then Marquez, look at that Ford Cosworth horsepower, pulls him ahead on the straight, but now under braking for turn 3, I think Marquez let him go.
Yes, I think he did. I think by then he realised that Montoya was coming through no matter what, and there wasn't much point in trying to fight him off any further. Now, Of course, this might help Montoya because Montoya's managed to get away from that little gaggle of cars like De Matter and Kanaan and Tracy. As meanwhile, race leader Kenny Breck doing a good job at the moment. He's 1.5 seconds ahead of Jimmy Vasser. Michel Jourdain still in third.
And what's interesting to me is now the officials are not waving the blue flag at Marquez, who is holding up those cars behind. Now this, to me, is blatant favouritism. Ganassi got on the radio to the card officials, and they told Jim Swintel, the official starter, to wave the flag, and they did so, and he let him pass. And now they're not doing the same for the other drivers. That, to me, is not right.
No, I have to say it seems very, very strange, and it's certainly helping Montoya get away from this group. But there's no doubt that De Matter, Kanaan and Tracy are all capable of lapping at a very similar pace to Montoya. It's just that they've got the problem of getting past Marquez, but Marquez is fighting for position. He is in a justified 6th place, and there's no reason that he should let them past. There is our race leader, Kenny Breck, up front. Jimmy Vasser still in second, about 1.8 seconds behind him, and then just 0.4 of a second behind Vasser, still Michel Jourdain. Andretti runs in 4th place, and it's about a 2.5 second gap back from Andretti in 4th to Juan Montoya in 5th place. And Montoya, as you would expect, now setting the fastest laps because he's broken away from that other group, and Montoya has a bit of clear space as he tries to close the gap up between himself and Michael Andretti. Last lap was a 24.1 for Juan Montoya. Previous had been a 24.0. That's about a 0.3 of a second faster than the others.
And Paul Tracy, I think, has some problems here. Last time around, Gilles de Ferran got past him, and this time around, also into turn 1, goes, I think, one of the players' cars, and now Franchitti moving past Tracy as well.
Kenny Breck is race leader, but he needs a yellow because he wants to make a pit stop soon. We're back at Chicago Motor Speedway, and would you believe it, the two Team Green teammates have just taken each other out of this race. Dario Franchitti, Paul Tracy, they've just hit each other out on track, dicing for position, and they've taken each other off.
And that was somewhat odd manoeuvre there. Certainly Dario just got past Paul Tracy a couple of laps before the pits are closed at the moment. We hear over the radio, and I think Paul Tracy was trying to get that position back again, but Paul had lost a whole bunch of positions, in fact, so quite what happened there, I don't know.
We'll have to take another look, but I tell you what, great timing for Kenny Breck, Jimmy Vasser and Michel Jourdain. This is the yellow they needed on exactly about the lap they needed.
Absolutely. I said about 35 laps would be absolutely perfect, and that's exactly when this yellow comes out. Lap 76, and now they can make their pit stop. Is exactly at 1/3 distance, and now they can make the finish for sure with just one more pit stop. Look, here's that move down to the inside. I think he's going Paul Tracy. Yep, and it's Dario on the outside. Dario has a line through the corner. He turns down to take the racing line through there, and Paul's car is occupying that piece of asphalt as he tried to do so, and you can see Dario, that huge plume of smoke there. He's on the throttle trying to keep it away from the wall, and he isn't able to do it.
No, didn't manage it. I wondered again whether Dario would hold it, but a bit like the Indy Lights race that we saw here earlier today, the other car also ended up spinning off into the wall. The Indy Lights race here today, by the way, won by Scott Dixon from New Zealand. But for Team Green, now they can't quite believe their eyes to see both drivers having taken each other off. It's not the first time, it's happened a couple of times in the past actually that they've taken each other off. But it's just not what they need at the moment because their season has been very much up and down. Franchitti has not really put together a consistent challenge, and Paul Tracy, he's been up there a few times, had some disappointing finishes as well, and they needed some good points scoring results here today.
That's absolutely right, and some rear-end damage there. He's already 2 laps down when he comes into the pits. He's shown in 18th place. Get on out, he's told, and that's the end of that one. So clearly some, and it was a very terse comment there from Barry Green, I think, to tell him to get on out. And I don't think Barry Green is very happy at all.
No, I can imagine. That was very, very foolish indeed for them to make contact at that point, and effectively has ended any challenge from Team Green here this afternoon. And can we read anything into Paul's reactions? Well, there's not much communication going on between Paul and anybody on the team at the moment. I think everyone's pretty fed up down there.
And certainly Paul is very well placed in the championship. He has been all season long. He was 3rd in the points coming into this weekend. And again, another replay here. You can see Tracy ducks out and down to the inside. He's almost alongside in the braking area, but he's not far enough alongside. And Dario clearly thought that he had the line into the corner. you know, it's up to the overtaking driver effectively to make that pass and to make it cleanly, and he couldn't do that, and he couldn't get out of the way. He tried to get on the brakes, I think, to stop from hitting Dario, but Dario just had to turn down and take the line. Meanwhile, to see that green sign there, the plus sign, the pits are open, and Kenny Breck leads everybody onto pit lane.
Right, so here we go. This is going to be an interesting one, isn't it? As Kenny leads them in, this is his first pit stop, remember. He hasn't made a stop up till this point. Michael Andretti also coming in, but so the other guys like Juan Montoya and Tony Kanaan and Cristiano De Mata, who did stop earlier, so they'll basically all be back on the same strategy from this point, which is interesting. But Montoya should come out pretty quickly because he won't need quite a full tank of fuel, whereas Michael Andretti, Kenny Breck will need a full tank of fuel before they can get going. Montoya gets out of the pit lane. I think Montoya's going to be first out here. Montoya's going to retake the lead. Yes, Andretti just gets going down at the end of the pit lane as well. And Kenny's got problems. Kenny's got disastrous problems. The race leader coming into this pit stop, and disaster for Kenny. I think he stalled the engine, and suddenly, after a great early stint, he's thrown it all away.
Again, he did the same in Motegi, I think, wasn't it, Ben? He came in the pits there, was looking really, really good. He stalled the engine, lost in the race. He's done that. I know he's done it twice. I can't quite remember where they were. I know he's thrown away possible potential victories twice by stalling in the pits, and perhaps again this afternoon.
Well, I mean, he had a long stop there indeed. It was well over 20 seconds in the end, so that's really scuppered his chances for the moment. It might come back to him later, but let's take another look at this. The fuel went on, and it was just a simple stall. Yeah, it was simple. The car started to move, and look at the frustration from the other guys around the car. They knew he was leading coming in, and then it seemed to take an age, didn't it? Normally they can get these things fired up pretty quickly, but it seemed to take forever to get it fired up.
And look how frustrated the crew was there. They only made a good pit stop there, and Kenny stalled it again. It's just amazing. I'm astonished that he should do it once again. This far into the season, you know, he's a rookie driver, you make mistakes, and these engines certainly, when they are hot and when you are at a standstill there and you have to select that first gear and leave the pit lane, it can be pretty tricky. But he's had plenty of practice really as the season's gone along, and really a bad mistake by Kenny Breck. Meanwhile, though, we're on board here with Juan Montoya, and who is up into second place, Ben?
Michael Andretti. Now, he is the guy who has gained so much from the strategy so far.
Exactly, and now he is back on the same sequence as everybody else. He made that pit stop earlier on, so he didn't need to stop at the early stage, but he did come in now because he needed only half as much fuel as everybody else, so he can make a very, very quick pit stop, and he comes out there in second place. It was a gamble, that early pit stop by Newman House Racing, and it turns out a brilliant gamble, and Michael Andretti now is in second place. That's the good news. The bad news is I don't think he's got quite as good a car as a lot of these other guys, but what he does have now is track position.
Looking down over the Chicago Motor Speedway, a long cleanup operation going on after the oil down on the track from Luis Garcia's blown engine, and that's taking a little while to sort out. So the drivers just following the pace car, no doubt at this point, joking a bit with their crews. They get on the radio and chat away and make jokes to each other just to sort of maintain the concentration and maintain the thinking of what's going on. Running in third place is Tony Kanaan at the moment, and Tony, one of the jokers of the pack, if you like, not in a bad way at all. He takes his racing very, very seriously, does Tony Kanaan, but he has a great sense of humour and always one of the most popular members of the kart paddock. We've known in the past that he has a penchant for collecting watches, but what I didn't know is that he also collects monkeys. Yes, that's right, monkeys. RPM Tonight's Marlo Klein called up with him to ask him about his monkey collection.
That started a long time ago in Brazil, when I was like 7 or 8 years old, that my dad took me to the zoo. And in the zoo in Brazil, I don't know if it's the same here, I've never been to a zoo here, but you can drive around with your car and they put a protection in your windshield. And you can have the windshield open and the monkeys will come around the car and you give them bananas and all that kind of stuff. And I love it. And I asked my dad that day if I could have a monkey. You know, and he gave me a monkey like, you know, like this monkey. But I said, no, I want a real one. He said, no, you can't have it. So it started all back there when I was 7.
Show me your favorite and why.
Actually, where is him? Here. I mean, he looks good. Look at him. He's all dressed up for a safari. And that's one that actually I bought. So that's why maybe it's one of my favorite ones. But I love all of them.
you have how many monkeys?
35, 36 with this one.
Can you make it dance?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Hold on.
Is there one that you say, you know what, this is my lucky monkey?
This one. He drives the car, you know, the shifter. If you look at monkeys all the time, they're always jumping up and down, and they all seems very happy and very energetic, and that's, I think, the way that I am. You know, I can't stand still for a minute, and I get excited, and I'm a happy person, and I have a lot of fun. And looks like all the monkeys, when you look at them, you're watching them, and they're having fun.
Jenny, are there any other stories about any of these other monkeys that you have in here?
One guy, you know, sent me this the other day. Actually, it was a friend of mine, and if you look at, we have something common. You know, he said that this monkey has a big nose like I do, so, but they are special. I love all of them.
Now there you go. That is the man who is running in third place in this Champ Car race.
Pretty scary, isn't it? But he is a great character, is Tony Kanaan. And just fun to have around. Great to see him back here. Of course, he had that injury suffered in Detroit, and back now in the car with a huge smile on his face, and he's never happier than when he's driving a racing car, and particularly when he's running up towards the front of the field. He's had a great job this weekend, and he's running, he's been in the top 4 or 5 every single session, and now he's running in third place, and still over 100 laps to go, so a long way to go in this motor race, and Tony Kanaan right in the thick of it, Ben.
Yeah, still over 100 laps to go, but we have just this second crossed the half-distance mark. So they have done half-distance here at Chicago. And, well, we've seen Montoya pretty much dominating things. Kenny Brett was running well earlier on, but also a number of engine failures, mechanical problems. We could see a great many changes, I think, in the remainder of this race.
We just saw, incidentally, Adrian Fernandez, he was running in 13th position. Lucky for some, he came in and made a pit stop under this caution just a lap or two ago, so that drops him to the tail end of the field. He's now running in 15th. There's another car still running, which is Mimo Gidley, and as we said earlier on, Mimo is 2 laps down. Everybody else, all 15 cars down to Adrian Fernandez, are still on the lead lap.
Right, now we are getting ready to go green, and the pace car begins to pull away from the field. Montoya, Andretti, Kanaan, our top 3. Moreno tucked in behind, remember?
You call the green.
Ganassi talking to Montoya. And he's pretty fast around that top corner. And you can see the car sliding already.
And Moreno there was in trouble coming off the restart. Made a very poor restart. And Cristiano De Mata absolutely flew past him. Left him standing there in turn 3.
So De Mata's going to place. Look at this. Jimmy Vasser under attack from Patrick Carpentier. Carpentier down the inside on cold tyres. The tyres not fully up to temperature yet. And Vasser and Carpentier, they're still side by side. There's Carpentier coming through on the inside up into turn number 3. And Vasser has to give way a little bit there. So Carpentier takes over 6th position. That puts him up behind Moreno next. And now Gilles de Ferran having a little look at trying to get past Jimmy Vasser. Done a good job of cleaning up that oil, I think. And perhaps drivers taking it a little bit cautiously down into turn 1. Clean up at turn 3 and 4 so they can push it hard up there. Gilles de Ferran definitely dancing around in the mirrors of Jimmy Vasser here at the moment. This is the view back from Jimmy's car. Right into the eyes virtually of Gilles de Ferran. Meanwhile, down in the pits, I think we may have an opportunity to catch up with Dario Franchitti.
Have you had a chance to review any of this, and what are you feeling right now?
I'm pretty upset. I haven't had a chance to review the accident. I don't know what happened yet. I'm going to just go over to talk to Paul right now, and we're going to see what happened. It's a bit early to say. You know, I didn't see Paul coming down the inside. I don't know how far along the inside he was. It's just unfortunate that both Team Cole green cars are out of the race, and this early in the race wasn't good.
The fact that this has happened in other seasons, not thus far this year, does that factor into this? Is that important?
Well, we've been told before not to race. Barry's had a word with us, but again we have to see. Was it a mistake by Paul? Was Paul alongside, far enough alongside? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I can't comment on it. And once I've seen it, I guess we'll have to say a bit more.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Looking there at Oriol Servier, he was trying to get alongside Maurizio Gugelmin there a second ago. Didn't quite come off for him.
And very diplomatic, I would say, Dario Franchitti. And I think when he sees the tape, he'll be even less pleased than he is now. I think Paul there was being a bit optimistic, and as Barry Green said, not so sure that he was really close enough to make that pass.
So Montoya still our race leader and still just ahead of Andretti. 121 laps will be completed as Montoya brings them around this time, and it's still his advantage here over Michael Andretti. But look at this, Michael has closed up a little bit now and beginning to dice once more with Montoya. These two who battled so well last week in Michigan. Tony Kanaan runs in third place, Cristiano D'Amato in fourth, Moreno back to fifth after a rather slow restart. Seemed to have a little bit of a problem, but now runs okay. Carpentier sixth, De Ferran seventh, Vassar, followed by Gugelmin, Sevilla, Tagliani and Jourdain. And these two really putting away a little bit now. They've got about a 2-second advantage over Tony Kanaan. Interesting hearing their comments last week, Jeremy, after that race in Michigan, where they were banging wheels virtually at 230 miles an hour. There's a great degree of trust between them, isn't there?
Yeah, it certainly is. They had a great time. Both they thoroughly enjoyed that race last weekend. And Michael Andretti, of course, was disappointed not to win it. But he nevertheless enjoyed the battle, and of course even better news for him, he came out with a championship lead, so that's great news. And he said after qualifying here, where he was way back down the order, he's qualified only 15th, and he said, look, you know, we can still get some good points in this race if we have a good strategy and finish the race. The key, of course, is to finish the race, but if we have a good strategy, a little bit of luck falls our way, maybe we can get up towards the top 5. And he said then he'd be happy with the top 5. Well, now he's in second place, and he's got his eyes set on Ron Montoya.
Yes, that's right. I think at this point they're just basically conserving fuel a little bit, still pushing hard, and it has allowed them to pull away from Tony Kanaan in third place. Looking at Juan Montoya's summary, he's led 82 laps already here this afternoon.
They're running a pretty good lick right now. They're averaging over 153.5 miles an hour, and that's about as fast as anybody's been running for most of this race. We haven't seen much below that. We've seen a couple of very low 24-second laps, but last time around for Montoya, 24.107, say 153.6 miles an hour. That's a pretty good lick at this stage.
Yes, and on that last lap, Tony Kanaan, 24.036 was the fastest. Cristiano D'Amato just a fraction behind him in terms of lap time, and a little bit behind him in terms of position as well. Kanaan in third place, D'Amato in fourth position. Just watching them around. This Chicago 1 mile speedway, not a particularly high banked oval. It's only about 6 degrees banking at either end of the track. A track that was built last year at a cost of some $60 million. And a good view of the grandstands. They've got capacity seating here for about 70,000 people. I have to say, pretty good crowd turnout here this weekend, as we had here last year. A lot of promotion from the Target, particularly, who put their name to this race. And they've brought a big crowd along. They also bring a lot of guests along. And I know that both Montoya and Vassar have been flat out this weekend, doing appearances and media work to try and satisfy the response here this weekend.
That's right. I had some people I know that live in Chicago. They say there hasn't been quite as much advertising as last year, when of course it was a brand new event, but there's still certainly been a good bit of advertising, and they've done a pretty good job. They've attracted, I would say, a good 60-odd thousand here, probably more than that, 65 or so, I would say. Pretty good crowd for the city of Chicago, which of course is sports mad. There's baseball on just down the road and all sorts of other things to go watch on television. So considering how grim the weather looked earlier on today, when I flicked on the television and saw the Weather Channel, I thought, uh-oh, are we going to get this race in? Well, we are, and it's turning out to be a pretty exciting race.
Yes, even if it were to rain now, this race would of course be called, because they've done over half distance, so that counts. You still get all the points being given out at that stage. Fast lap there from Montoya on that previous lap, a 23.872, fastest we've seen so far, so I don't think they are doing much in the way of conserving fuel. They're pushing pretty hard here. Michael Andretti staying with him though, and he's keeping the pace up. Of course, we talk about Chicago, and this is pretty much a home circuit, isn't it, for the Newman-Haas team, Jeremy? And they've got a lot of friends and family of the crew members here this weekend.
Yes, they absolutely have been. They're based in Lincolnshire, Illinois, which is pretty much just up the road, only 15-20 miles away up on the northwest side of Chicago. And they were very disappointed, of course, when Christian Fittipaldi hit the wall, and it was decreed that he would take no further part in the proceedings this weekend. And then when Mikey qualified back in 15th, they thought, oh gee, this is going to be a long weekend. But Michael has done a fantastic job now, and as you say, right there in touch with the race leader.
Watching the battle for third here between two Brazilian friends, Tony Kanaan and Cristiano D'Amato. And
Mixture 4.
Getting a little call on the radio just to talk about the mixture, the fuel mixture that the drivers can adjust within the cockpit. Tony Kanaan, it sounded like. that we were listening to there. Still being pushed pretty hard by Cristiano D'Amata. I have to say, this is the best outing we've seen so far for Monan Racing, Jeremy. The first year for this team. Monan was the engineer who brought so much success at Target Chip Ganassi Racing, particularly with Alex Zanardi in recent years. Stayed with the team and looked after Montoya's first title last year. But Mo has now set up this own team of his. A bit of sort of support from Bruce McCaw and Pat West, a little bit of an involvement there, and certainly a lot of involvement from Mercedes-Benz. And this is their best showing to date.
It certainly is. They've been working extremely hard on these Mercedes-Benz engines. A little more engineering, both in Brixworth in Northamptonshire, England, and also in Detroit, here on the north side of Detroit. They've really been working hard to get some more power out of these engines. It's a good little motor. They've had some reliability problems, as we saw earlier on this afternoon, and in the last few races. The touchwood right now, Tony Kanaan running very, very well indeed, and also Mauricio Guzman there in ninth place. He's having a good run too. And Michel Jourdain Jr. as well. He's running 12th and turning some very good laps.
So still a number of Mercedes-Benz engines running competitively in this one. We're looking at Toyota-powered car of Juan Montoya at this point, and very confident with this car on the ovals. The Lola chassis combination with Toyota power. Seems very happy with that. I know, speaking to him earlier this weekend, though, he's a little concerned about the road courses coming up, the races at Mid-Ohio and Road America. He told me that they still haven't really got a full handle on the handling of this car on those road courses. He says they tend to get too much understeer, particularly in the mid part of the race, and that hurts them a lot. And I don't think he feels that they've fully found a way of dealing with that. And yet the Lola that's following him here, Michael Andretti, they seem to have got a good setup on the road courses. It seems strange.
It is very interesting indeed, and certainly in the early part of the season, I think Newman Haas did quite a lot of testing down at Sebring in Florida, and certainly Team Ganassi, Target Chip Ganassi Racing was down there as well, but they seem to do perhaps a little bit more testing on the oval, where the engine, the Toyota engine, really is running at maximum revs all the time. They figured that was more beneficial to them to do their testing on the ovals, and I think perhaps that cost them a little bit in terms of getting the setup right for the road and street courses.
Well, Montoya will find out soon enough. We've got a couple of road courses coming up after this race. At two of the classic ones, Mid-Ohio and Road America. And he was certainly very, very impressive at Road America last year, Montoya, until he had a gearbox problem that really put him out of the running. At the moment here at Chicago, he is our race leader. Just 0.4 of a second separating him and Michael Andretti. And the two of them battled so hard last week, and they're still at it here, although not quite to the same degree as yet. They're fairly content to just follow one another, and pulling away again from Tony Kanaan. The gap between them and Tony now over 3 seconds. So these two definitely edging away. We're on to lap number 140 now. We were looking at a final pit stop of around the 150 to 160 lap mark, particularly with the number of yellow laps that we've had in this stint.
That's right. I think certainly that longish yellow for Garcia's mechanical problem will have assisted them. They should be able to get to lap 170 odd, I would have thought, before making their final pit stop, assuming there's no more yellows, of course, and that would be about right. They should then be able to run pretty strong to the end of the race.
Let's just ride on board with Montoya for a second. Good chance to listen to that Toyota engine hard at work. That's a nice view, isn't it? As he just slides past Shinji Nakano, lapping Nakano, who's running down in 15th position. Great shot from that onboard camera, and Andretti gets past him safely as well. And that puts another car between the two leaders, and the battle for third between Kanaan and D'Amata.
That's right, and farther down the order, Jimmy Vasser dropping away a little bit. He's still running in 8th place now, but he's falling back from the group that is dicing for 5th, which comprises Moreno, Carpentier and De Ferran. And the gap from De Ferran back to Vasser now almost 5 seconds, and that's been sort of dropping steadily, or it's been extending steadily, I should say, just a tenth or two every lap. But clearly Jimmy not quite as happy with his car as is Montoya with his own target car.
No, that's right. Doesn't seem to be working to quite the same extent. Looking there, Tagliani and Jourdain, 11th and 12th. Tagliani in the blue and white car, Jourdain in the green and white Herdes machine. Tagliani being told to watch his mirrors by his spotter, and being told that he had to cover the left there because Jourdain was definitely thinking of lining up for the inside. Look at Brecht now trying to get past Jourdain. Jourdain, who'd got a little held up then, now under attack from Jourdain. And the leaders coming up to lap this group. Montoya's at the back of this. Oh, Montoya got it all crossed up there. And now Andretti has a chance to take the lead. Andretti coming down into turn number 1. Montoya trying to stay with him. And side by side, it's back to Michigan last week. But Montoya surely can't hold him there. Oh, and he gets it sideways again. Has to lift off the throttle. And this time Andretti goes through.
Wow, that was a brave move by Montoya there, as you say, Ben, perfectly cool. He made that mistake in turn 4 in that traffic, and Michael Andretti, he'd been biding his time, just staying there, keeping pace with Montoya, and doing an excellent job. And oh, Tony Kanaan's got a problem.
Tony Kanaan has slowed right down on the start-finish straight here. Oh, what a shame. He'd been running so well. Best performance of the year for Kanaan and for the team. Couldn't quite catch what he said there.
What happened? I think he was a bit quiet after that, so I don't know. Shame for Tony Khan. He had a great run going.
He's managed to get it into pit lane. It won't be a yellow here. Breck gets down the inside of Tagliani, so Breck takes over 12th position. And we've still got the leaders back in that group. Now, Andretti is ahead of Montoya, but they're still all trying to lap this lot. Fernandez is in there as well, in the green and red car. Vino Gidley, who's a couple of laps down, he's also in that group. And now Montoya's trying to get the lead back from Andretti. Down towards turn number 1, on board with Montoya.
Absolutely, he's trying to get the lead back. And look at those slower cars in front of them. That is right in front of those, actually Adrian Fernandez, and also that's the player's car there who's actually been passed. That's Tagliani, who's dropping back down the field. He's just been passed by Adrian Fernandez, and now goes a lap down, and Michael Andretti puts that lap car between himself and Montoya. A little bit of breathing room for Michael Andretti.
Yeah, I think Montoya's going to get past here fairly quickly, is he? Well, he's got to do it under braking. Again, that Ford power was very impressive along the straight.
And meantime, Gilles de Ferran has passed Roberto Moreno, and also where's Carpentier also, of course, moved up as well after Tony Kanaan's departure. But a good move there by de Ferran to get himself up into 5th place ahead of Moreno.
Ganassi just giving some instructions to Montoya on fuel mixture. Now the two players' cars going through there, but of course Carpentier lapping his teammate Tagliani. Carpentier runs in 4th position. Tagliani finds himself now back down in 13th place, so he's struggling a little bit. There's de Ferran in 5th place, and certainly staying out of trouble so far. Fairly relaxed run from Gilles de Ferran. Well, hopefully it's relaxed. It looks relaxed. Whether he's getting much pain.
9 laps this next time by. Good job.
And that's Roger Penske on the radio to Gilles de Ferran, telling him 9 laps. So that's 9 laps to the next pit stop. And that's given us some useful information to know when they're coming into the pits next time around.
And that'll be lap 160, which should be good enough to get to the finish from there. The last pit stop was under caution, of course, back on lap 79. So they've gone, 21 laps? They've gone 70 laps now. A good portion of that, of course, was under yellow. But certainly, fuel should not be an issue now, I don't think, for anybody. And that's good news. It should be a flat-out race to the finish, and that's what we all want to see.
We gather that it was a gearbox problem for Tony Kanaan, but has seen him coast out of this one. And that's very disappointing. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him in a little while. Back with our race leaders, Michael Andretti, who has taken over the lead of this race, using the traffic beautifully and just taking advantage of that situation. Now, I think we're going to have a chance to catch up with a couple of drivers down in pit lane any moment. First of all, let's start with Paul Tracy.
Now to talk to your teammate Dario. Do we have peace and harmony with Team Cool Green?
For sure we do. I mean, I made a move. Dario got around me, and I left him room, and then I made a move back on him, and he was busy trying to work on D'Amata, and he said he didn't see me coming, and I was down on the edge of the apron, and we just barely touched each other, and it's disappointing for both of us to be out of the race, but we'll move on from here.
Is this a situation where blame is assigned and accepted?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just a racing incident. These wings, I mean, it's so hard to pass with these wings now, and you've got to make such a big commitment going into the corner to get by a guy, and if a guy doesn't see you, then there's no way you can stop on your entry. You can't just stop with these wings on a dime and give enough room. So I was committed into the corner, and Dario didn't see me, and we just barely touched.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Jan?
Tony Kanaan has made his way back to pit road. Tony, what happened?
We lost a 5th gear right 20 laps before I stopped, and then we lost the whole gearbox. It's a shame. We had a very good race. I was saving a lot of fuel, and it's just a shame. I'm very upset. All this effort to come back, and you know, the luck is not in our side, but we're gonna get strong.
The next race will be a road course. Is that a concern with your broken arm?
No, not at all. I'm gonna be much stronger. People are gonna see that.
Thanks, Tony.
Meanwhile, we've got some pit stops beginning to happen here. Lap number 157, and coming into the pits, Alex Tagliani, the first of the players' cars to make his way into pit lane. His teammate Patrick Carpentier still out there running in fourth, and we should be expecting to see a number of other pit visitors here soon. Front wing change for Tagliani, and away he goes.
And so Tagliani been struggling, fallen a lap off the leading pace, down into 14th place, and 1 lap behind the leaders, and 1 lap behind him now is Mimo Gidley, still in 15th place, the final car on the lead lap. Meanwhile, Jimmy Vasser was falling back down the order.
Yeah, Jimmy's been falling back down the order. We're just taking a look at a replay here. He ran a little wide at this point and was passed by several cars, and it seemed to slow right down there. I don't know quite what was going on. He's still going round at the moment. He's dropped down to 9th position, but I wonder whether he's lost a gear, a bit like Tony said. Perhaps he's lost a gear and not all of them.
Yeah, could be. Certainly, he tried to get down the inside there and ran a bit wide off the corner, and certainly seems to be running pretty strongly there. He's ahead of Kenny Breck, and behind Kenny Breck is Mimo Gidley. And now we're seeing Moreno on the pit lane, also Gilles de Ferran on pit lane as well.
Yes, so here we go. Gilles de Ferran for Team Penske. This should be the final stop for him. Same story for Roberto Moreno at Patrick, and here Maurizio Gugelmin at Pac West Racing. Only 6 guys allowed to work on the cars in Champ Cars, remember? Not a whole team of people. Front wing change. And away he goes. And Moreno's already got going past for the lead here. Montoya's down the inside of Michael Andretti, and he's done it. Suddenly Montoya found an opportunity there, and he has sneaked past Michael Andretti. They're still trying to lap this bunch of cars with Adrian Fernandez right in front of them.
Yeah, what a great move again by Juan Montoya. Really opportunist pass there by Montoya. And now we see Cristiano Domata, the 3rd place car on pit lane.
And it is a crucial time because they've got their pit stops coming up. Cristiano Domata comes in. They use those umbrellas to identify the drivers to their correct pit stop area. And apparently Sevilla had a fire down there in the pit lane. He's got out. No, he's getting back in the car. There was a fire, and now they're going to try and send him back out again. But of course, there's water all over the pit lane on that area, and that could make life tricky for some of the other drivers coming in near his pit box. Now, we believe Juan Montoya and Michael Andretti both due in this time.
Wow, that's going to be crucial. Here we see, no, Michael stayed out, actually. Montoya was coming to the pit lane, and right ahead of Michael Andretti is... No, actually, it was Jimmy Vasser coming in. Forget that bad information there. But it's those still to stay out on the racetrack. 164 laps, and still just 2 or 3 car lengths between the pair of them. And Adrian Fernandez still struggling to stay on the lead lap.
Now, I think Michael is coming in. I can see him heading in towards... yeah, he's coming in the pit lane from our vantage point high above the grandstand. Meanwhile, Jimmy Vasser is into the pits. Now, usually the target team are exemplary on these kind of pit stops, under pressure or whatever. They get the starter ready just in case he needs it. And away he goes. Seems to take a while. It's a lot of fuel required, of course. And now Michael Andretti heads his way down to the very far end of the pit lane there to make his stop. Now then, is this race going to be a battle to the wire again between Michael Andretti and Juan Montoya? Let's see if it's a clean stop.
Hold it, hold it, hold the car up, hold the car up, watch Timmy, go!
Good stuff from Michael Andretti, good stuff from the Newman Haas team.
7 clicks on the weight jacker. Now, do you want me to explain what the weight jacker is? The weight jacker is a little button on the steering wheel of the car. And if you think about it, when the car starts on a full tank of fuel, weighs about 230 pounds. When the car has used up all that fuel, the whole car is 230 pounds lighter. Now, in an optimum world, the designer of the car would put that fuel tank right in the middle of the car, so as the fuel level burned down, the overall weight balance of the car would not change. That's not the case. The driver's in the middle of the car. So as the fuel load burns off, the balance of the car changes. The handling of the car therefore changes. Oh, there's a brave move there as Montoya gets past Mimo Gidley. But the balance of the car changes. So to compensate for that, you have this thing called a weight jacker. And what it does, it raises the spring on one side of the car and compensates by raising the spring on one side. It jacks more weight across to the other side of the car to compensate for that lessening fuel load, or in this case, the increased fuel load.
Pit this time, pit now, pit for fuel.
Well, we're hearing Ganassi there come on the radio, and that is the cue for Juan Montoya to make his stop now. Has he been able to put in some quick laps here? Will he have enough in hand over Michael Andretti? That's the question. He will come into the pit lane as fast as possible, and then as he gets to the speed limit, stand on the brakes.
To the car.
And they're asking him...
Leave the car the way it is. Just leave it the way it is. 10-4. Now come straight across there. So they're coming up straight across that. Go to position 2. Fuel. Go to position 2. Slow down, look.
Oh, perfect stop. Look at that. On the marks. Sliding into place. We're on with Rob Hill watching.
Go, go, go.
Now then, is this enough, Jeremy? Is he going to be able to get out ahead of Michael? Where is Michael Andretti? Trying to spot where he is around. Here he comes, cross-start finish line now. Michael Andretti. Montoya exits the pit lane and accelerates up onto the backstretch. Andretti with the momentum, but Montoya's got out well ahead. There's Andretti in the background. You can see the black car, and Montoya making an excellent stop, and that really has helped them there. He's got out now. Of course, perhaps they didn't have to put quite so much fuel in because he was able to stop that little bit later. Oh, and we've got a yellow. We've got a yellow off Patrick Carpentier into the wall. And that is down there at turn...
Oh, dear.
Okay, sorry about that. Not the rear is going in or went too far down on the paint. I don't know.
Just hang in there. Just relax. They're going to come and get you. Just stay in the car.
That's a great...
Do that.
Yeah, get in the car. Stay in the car there. He said he's apologising there. He said locked up the brakes. Heroes down the inside of Michel Jourdain Jr. Got in a little bit too deep and down below that white line. And below that white line, the banking starts on that white line. Below that banking, the track is absolutely flat. And when you go across that transition from the flat to the banking, even though there's only 6 degrees here, it does upset the car. That's what happened to Patrick Carpentier. He was apologising for that, and apologise he should do because he was running very well. He had a great pit stop, and he was out ahead of Michael Andretti.
Well, bad news for Carpentier, but Kenny Brack waiting to come in as our leader. Welcome back to Chicago, where more drama. That is Juan Montoya's car that you can see that has stopped out of turn 2. They were under yellow, Jeremy. They were just coasting around. Suddenly, Montoya coasted even slower and came to a stop out of turn 2.
Yeah, we don't know what the problem is. He was being towed back to the pits, and he's supposed to hang on to that tow rope and wrap it round the roll bar and then turn the rope over itself, so to speak, and then ask Montoya to hold on to it, which he does then. It is quite difficult sometimes to hang on to that rope. You don't want to get your hand caught in there. That can cause a nasty friction burn there. And certainly now he's holding on. He's getting a tow back to the pits, but absolute heartbreak for Juan Montoya. He was running, he'd dominated, but he ran out in front a long way in this race, as he has in several other races this season. And once again, it seems it's not going to be his day.
No, it is Cristiano D'Amato who leads, Andretti second, De Ferran third, and Montoya's 7th non-finish of the year. It's a Toyota failure by the look of it. It was certainly a bit smoky from under the engine, but we don't know that for sure yet. We'll find out hopefully soon enough. And Chip Ganassi cannot believe it. How can their run of bad reliability continue? You remember, it only seems a little while ago that Ganassi was the paragon of reliability. The number of races that they failed to finish could be counted on the fingers of half a hand virtually. And now they've had so many non-finishes this year.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. And they've had a couple of incidents, they've had a couple of mechanical failures, and certainly this one has to presume it is some kind of a mechanical failure. He gets hands out the steering wheel there to one of the safety team members, and out hops a very disappointed Juan Montoya.
He was all set up for the battle here, when he would have enjoyed it, I think, because we've got a man who's never won a race before leading this one, Cristiano D'Amato, who has come on so impressively this year, and his first win has come so close on a few occasions, but today is surely his best ever opportunity. Michael Andretti, however, tucked in behind him, and I think Montoya would have loved to have been a part of this. He loves racing. He enjoyed last week so much, and he just, I think, will be bitterly disappointed not to be a part of the action here in the remaining laps.
And particularly, of course, in the Target Grand Prix here, the sponsors, the race sponsor is also, of course, his team sponsor. But there is now the man of the moment. He has a big opportunity now to win this race. He led most of the way in Toronto a couple of weeks ago, and the strategy there by this team wasn't quite right. They ran an older set of tyres in the middle portion of that race, and that caused him some problems. He had to come in slightly early for his final fuel stop, and because of that he got leapfrogged by another couple of drivers, so he didn't get a chance to win there. Well, now this weekend they've called the strategy absolutely perfectly, and Cristiano D'Amato is out in the front, and he has a lap car between himself and Michael Andretti as we get ready to go green, Ben.
And D'Amato's making real advantage of that lapped car being there. He's storming away. Oh, Michael gets it sideways coming out of turn number 4, and Jourdain very slow away, and Andretti's really got some work to do here to try and close up to D'Amato. Meanwhile, right behind them, Jimmy Vasser, of course, is quite a long way down. He's a lap down. He's in 9th position. Gilles de Ferran is the next one. He's in 3rd, and there is the look at Gilles de Ferran from Jimmy Vasser's car. Meanwhile, Michael Andretti's just managed to get past Jourdain, let me tell you, through turn 3 and 4, slid down the underneath him, and now Michael has got himself a bit of clear space to go chasing after D'Amato.
Yes, he has, and right behind, look at that, there's Kenny Breck now onto the tail of Gilles de Ferran. That is a battle for 3rd place.
Now let's hear from Chip Ganassi.
What happened to Juan?
No idea, Jan. You know, we did our last stop, everything was fine. Full Ritz to the finish. We were looking for a big-time shootout there, and he just said the car shut off. I don't know what happened.
Just the craziest year on record for you?
Absolutely the craziest on record.
All right, well, we hope Jimmy can pull to the front. Thanks.
Look at Kenny Breck. Kenny Breck gets down the inside of Jimmy, but Jimmy is a lap down. He's in 9th. Kenny Breck himself back on the lead lap. That yellow really has helped him. He's up into 4th position now. Adrian Fernandez, not far behind Jimmy Vasser, is lying in 5th. Then Moreno still in this one. He's in 6th place. Kuchum in 7th. Jourdain in 8th place. Vasser, as we said, in 9th. Then Tagliani 10th. Gidley in 11th. And I think that's all our runners at the moment. We seem to...
I'm afraid it is, Ben. Yeah, there is a that battle, though, between Tagliani and Gidley is actually for position. They're both 2 laps down, and they're almost together on the racetrack. There's about 7 or 8 car lengths between them. But in the meantime, there we're looking at Michael Andretti, and look at the gap. You can't even see Cristiano D'Amato. He's almost 4 seconds in the lead.
So D'Amato really flying now. 23.9 on that last lap as opposed to 24.1 for Andretti. 0.2 of a second difference round here, and they both have got a pretty clear run, and that, I think, gives you a sign that D'Amato is in great shape with his car, with his engine. And just remember, they're running that special engine in the back of Cristiano's car. It's the first time it's been raced in this configuration, and so far so good. I bet the Toyota engineers' fingers are crossed down there in pit lane.
I'll bet they are indeed, and certainly there's been a lot of, once again here, high attrition, and generally, you know, on these short ovals, the 1 mile ovals, attrition really doesn't normally play a part. We generally see at least 75 or 80% of the cars still running at the finish, and often it seems that it's more incidents that causes retirement from these sort of races, but not this afternoon. A lot of mechanical problems, and again, 11 cars still running, as you say, and Montoya, that means, will pick up a point for 12th place, but that's certainly, and he'll probably pick up a point for also for leading most laps, but he wanted a lot more than that.
Moreno in there at the moment, trying to get past the lap car of Gidley. Moreno in 6th position. Still lies 2nd in the championship before this race, remember, but it is 2nd to Michael Andretti, and Michael looking to pick up perhaps a maximum score, or perhaps at least a podium finish here today to further extend his championship lead. And suddenly this mid-season is really looking good for Michael Andretti, I have to say. It was always going to be the toughest part of the championship. This is the 6th event in 7 weekends, coming off a threesome here this weekend from Toronto to Michigan to here in Chicago. It really has been, in many ways, the toughest part of the season. And you have to say it's gone well for Michael so far. Still a little way to go in this race. We'll still see if he can hold out. And meanwhile, I think we should get a chance to talk to Juan Montoya, who's made it back to pit lane.
Frustration for you, but any idea at all what happened?
I think we had an electrical cut, you know, a shortcut somewhere, because, you know, it smelled like a burnt cable or something. You know, it's really bad, but, you know, that's the races.
As far as you and Michael Andretti, obviously a great battle. Do you think in the end you'd have what it took to get by and stay in front of Michael?
Yeah, and Cristiano now is leading, and I think we're a lot quicker than him. No, we're saving a lot of fuel throughout the race, so I thought we're doing pretty good.
Is the championship still alive, or does this put you in big trouble?
So in the last race.
Thanks, Juan.
Yeah, it all comes down to the last race, absolutely. Montoya's not likely to give up, is he? He's not that kind of driver. But it doesn't do him a lot of good, even so, with Michael looking possible to score at least points for second place here today, and it could even be the victory if something went wrong for Cristiano de Mata. There you can see the gap, though, and that shows you how quickly de Mata is going, and now holding that gap pretty consistently over the last few laps.
He certainly is. He's lapping very consistently. 154 mile an hour average, 154.7, 23.8, 23.9. If you remember earlier on, Montoya was running 24.1, 24.2, perhaps the odd 24.0. So certainly the pace has been stepped up here by Cristiano de Mata, and Michael Andretti can kind of keep pace with that, but he's generally, I would say, maybe a tenth of a second or so slower than Cristiano, and certainly not making any inroads.
Well, de Mata must be thrilled at what's happening here at the moment, but will he hold it? Will he stay in this position? He led most laps, as you were talking about earlier on, in Toronto, but it went wrong for him in the latter stages, and he ended up finishing in 4th place. And now surely he's got a tremendous opportunity here this afternoon to take his first victory, and another Brazilian victory for the weekend and for the Champ Car Series this year. Maurizio Gugelmin running down in 7th, still running competitively in this race, and Roberto Moreno, his nearest opponent, only just over a second up the road ahead of him, so still an opportunity there perhaps for Gugelmin to get involved in a bit of a battle, although he's got a couple of lapped cars to deal with ahead of him. Just listen up for a second. There you can see the gear changing required on this track. And Gugelmin, as I say, running in 7th place as we watch Cristiano de Mata continue around this Chicago Motor Speedway. Is this going to be the day for Cristiano to take his first victory in the Champ Car Series? The man who won the Indy Lights Championship back in 1998 with the Tasman team. He took 4 victories that year, and he took 3 wins in 1997 in Indy Lights as well. Really was a man in form in the Indy Lights Championships, and then moved up to the Champ Cars last season. Best finish last year was a 4th place at Nazareth. He does seem to like the 1 mile ovals, seem to suit his style, and has, as you were talking about earlier this weekend, I think, Jeremy, a good relationship with the Scotsman who's his race engineer, Ian Watt.
That's absolutely right. Those two get along extremely well. Very high regard they do have for each other, and I think de Mata has been told just to ease the pace just a touch. Last couple of laps in the 24-second bracket, 24.2, 24.1 the last 2 laps, and look, there's almost the whole straightaway lead over Michael Andretti.
So through to complete another lap. They're coming around this time to complete 200 laps. That'll leave just 25 miles to go for him to finish his first ever race up front, to win his first race, and he has a 4-second advantage still over Michael Andretti. Gilles de Ferran holding on to 3rd, looking for a podium finish for Team Penske, and Kenny Brack still in 4th place. Adrian Fernandez in 5th, Roberto Moreno in 6th position. And I have to say, if it stays like this, it's going to be a pretty good day for the Brazilians, isn't it? We've got one in 1st, 3rd, then in 6th, 7th, and that's it, I think, out of our 11 runners so far. But it's this man, Cristiano de Mata, who comes from a motor racing background, a father who has had many successes himself in more in touring cars than in single-seaters.
Yeah, more in touring cars. Well, in actual fact, Tony in the late 60s thought about making a move to Europe to go race Formula 3. For one reason or another, it didn't come off. He didn't do it, but he stayed back in Brazil and won, I think it was 11 touring car championships down there. So a very well-known name in Brazil, and his son is absolutely taken on the family genes there. He's done a fantastic job, and of course, very good news for Brazil all around. They already lead the Nations Cup standings by a pretty handy margin over the US, and with a win with de Mata ahead of Andretti, that will extend it by another 4 points this afternoon.
Well, it's a pretty big story as well for the team, for PPI Motorsports and for team owner Cal Wells. If they manage to get the victory here today, that would be their first win as a team And he announced, of course, that Cristiano would be staying with the team next year. I wonder how Cal is feeling. Let's
his breath.
talk
He's
to
been
him.
running behind Cal Wells. Have you got any help from the teams that you've asked for some help?
Well, I'll tell you in about 5 laps.
Have you been able to talk to all the cars that he's about to catch?
I have. We'll see who does what.
How exciting, so close to this possible first victory.
Hey, we're just still racing. We'll see what happens.
All right, he's playing it close to the vest, and boy, I tell you, he is getting a great workout up and down pit road here.
That is one wound-up team owner, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. You can feel the anticipation, I think, in his voice there. He's pretty nervous, is Cal Wells. He's marching up and down the pits, talking to these other guys, trying to make sure they give him some room when they come up to lap, when Cristiano comes up to lap him. But I think he's doing it more just to keep himself occupied than anything else, so he doesn't have to worry about his man Cristiano de Mata running out in front, and well out in front completely on his own.
Good thing in a way for Cristiano is the fact that we have seen a number of retirements this afternoon. We've only got 11 cars out on track, and that makes his task a little easier. He doesn't have to deal with slower traffic quite so often. At the moment, Cristiano de Mata dealing with everything thrown at him absolutely perfectly. 206 laps completed here at the Chicago Motor Speedway as Cristiano de Mata maintains an advantage over Michael Andretti of over 4 seconds and looking for his first ever victory. Gilles de Ferran lies in third place, but he's a couple of seconds behind Andretti. Meanwhile, Jourdain heads into pit lane, and it looks as though there's a problem for the Mexican.
And that's a shame. He'd been running very well in 8th position here, and just under 20 laps to go, and Jourdain pulls into that Herdes Bettenhaus Motorsports team. Absolutely no rush there. Off comes the engine cover, and again, he's had a lot of mechanical disappointments these last few races. Looks like there's another one here. There'll be a couple of points in it for him. He'll still be classified most likely in 11th place, but again, he was looking for a good top 10 finish here with Michel Jourdain Jr.
Now, de Mata coming up behind Maurizio Gugelmin will be the first one that he has to deal with of this little bunch of cars, and hopefully he'll be able to deal with them fairly cleanly, but it might well give an opportunity for Michael Andretti to just try and close that gap up a little bit. Gugelmin himself tucked in behind Mimo Gidley, and he's been behind him for a while, both Gidley and Tagliani, who are dicing themselves over 9th position, so perhaps have to be a little bit cautious here. We'll see how de Mata can deal with this under pressure, knowing that that first win could be just a matter of some 15 laps away. Catching them a little bit more up into turn number 4 there. Definitely got the pace.
Yeah, certainly, but they're only running, a 10th or 2 of a second a lap slower than Cristiano de Mata, and with a 4-second lead over the second place car, this man, Michael Andretti. 4 seconds to go and just 15 laps. That's plenty of time, so really Cristiano can just, I think, afford to sit there. As long as they maintain their pace in front of him, he should be okay.
That's right, and Michael Andretti himself is unlikely to take any huge risks to close that gap. As you said earlier, he was looking for a top 5 today. If he gets a second place finish from starting 15th, he will be delighted with that, and particularly with the extended championship lead it would give him. Cristiano de Mata himself hasn't featured quite so high in the championship, although he's still there in 10th place on 62 points, and so still in with a chance at the title. We're still got a long way to go in this season, and if they can start scoring results like this consistently, well, you don't know quite what can happen. And it's interesting to note that Cristiano really has become one of Montoya's main challengers this year, using Toyota power, as is Montoya. Reynard chassis as against the Lolas for Montoya, and things seem to be going pretty well for him.
And meanwhile, behind Cristiano de Mata, he's got just over 3 seconds now over Michael Andretti. But Cristiano has a heck of a lot of experience. Absolutely no reason to get rattled at this stage. Meanwhile, behind Michael Andretti, we still have Gilles de Ferran there in 3rd place. And not far behind de Ferran, and closing in a little bit, is Kenny Breck.
That's right. So there's still some time to be played out here. And as you say, Andretti definitely that little bit closer. He was on the last lap as well. 2.7 seconds was the gap between the two of them as they crossed the line last time. Let's see what it is this time. 2.7 becomes 2.5. 0.2 of a second gain by Michael Andretti on that last lap, and Cal Wells keeping an eye on the gap between them. Got his own stopwatch down there, keeping a check on the gap between Cristiano and Michael Andretti.
And he's not going to be much left of Caldwell's fingernails, I don't think, by the end of this race. But there is his man, Cristiano D'Amato, and he's a good 12 or 15 car lengths behind Mauricio Gugelmin, who's the next car in front of him, and the gap down to 2.1, but with 9 laps to go.
Well, it's coming down 2 or 3 tenths of a second every lap at the moment.
And certainly Michael is turning some very quick laps. The last lap around 23.9 was 4 tenths quicker than Cristiano. So certainly Michael is going to put the hammer down and try and put him under pressure.
Oh, look at it. Definitely closing up. And what's the gap this time? It's down to 1.9 seconds. He's broken the 2-second mark. Michael Andretti's got the bit between his teeth here. He lost out to Juan Montoya last week in Michigan in a battle to the flag. What about this time? Can he put some pressure on Cristiano D'Amato, the 26-year-old who's never won a race in Champ Cars before? Meanwhile, Michel Jourdain is just coming out of the pits again. As we look from our commentary position, I can tell you that. So he's going to hopefully still be able to score some points here today. But he was in the pit lane for a long time there. Cristiano D'Amato up the back stretch. There are some 7 laps to go here. 6 laps at the end of this one. The gap 1.7 seconds last lap around. Still Michael Andretti closing that gap up a little bit each lap as they come past us. This time the gap is 1.4 seconds. That's another 3 tenths of a second gained by Michael on the last lap.
And Cristiano being very, very cool at this stage. If he can keep this pace, he should still just about, it'll be very close actually, 3 or 4 tenths a lap with 6 laps to go. Ooh, and it's 1.4 seconds, so Mikey's going to be right with him at this rate, and we'll see whether Cristiano has to make a move on his countryman, Mauricio Gugelmin.
1.2 seconds on that last lap, so again he gained just a fraction, not quite so much this time. And still Cristiano boxed up there behind Maurizio, but now perhaps he's going to make the move on Gugelmin, and he does it safely. Gugelmin gets well out of the way, and that could be crucial. I don't know whether Michael's going to be able to close this gap up in the 5 laps that are left. Across the line he goes. Still 1.2 seconds, and for once Michael does not close up anymore. And that could be the key moment of the race as D'Amato puts Gugelmin between the two of them.
I think you're absolutely right there. And in the meantime, just a little bit farther back, we've seen De Ferran and Breck still pretty close together. Behind De Ferran and Breck, Fernandez and Moreno, the 2 teammates there, running pretty close in 5th and 6th. And Gugelmin now that 1 lap down in 7th place.
Cristiano D'Amato, just 3 laps to go now then for the former Brazilian Formula 4 champion way back in 1993. Raced in the UK. He raced in the British Formula 3 Championship back in 1995 with the West Surrey team. Raced in Formula 3000 with Pacific Racing as well in 96 before coming to make his career here in the United States. And he goes across the line, just 2 laps to go now. Surely everything's going to be held together here. Fingers crossed for him. He is a very likable young man, the jockey-sized driver. He really, I mean, most drivers are small, but Cristiano's tiny, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, he's got a great personality too. Some really good Toyota ads over here, where his personality really does come out extremely well. And he's a very likable man. And there he gets a white flag from Jim Swintel. Just 1 lap to go.
Cristiano D'Amato heading for his first ever victory in Champ Car racing and the first win for the PPI Motorsports team. This team that has worked so hard over the years. Max Papis was a top driver for this team up until he left to go to Team Rahal. Cristiano is going to celebrate his re-signing for the team by taking the very next victory. This first victory here at Chicago. Cristiano D'Amato wins at the Motor Speedway. Delight for Cal Wells, for PPI Motorsports. They've cracked it at last.
I don't know about delight, it's relief as well for Cal Wells. He now knows his team. He knows his team is a winning team, but now he's absolutely proved it. And what a brilliant drive by Cristiano D'Amato. That team got the strategy perfectly then.
They did. They sorted it absolutely brilliantly, and great marks to Toyota as well for producing the engine they did for this weekend. Michael Andretti finishes 2nd, and with that will further extend his championship lead, although De Ferran will move up as well into 3rd place in the championship now with a good finish here this afternoon. Moreno 6th place here today, still featuring in that championship chase as we go towards some of the classic road course races, places like Mid-Ohio and Road America. But Michael Andretti really has become a big championship threat now to everybody else this season. Just take a quick look through the point standings here if we can, Jeremy. Michael's with that advantage.
Yeah, Moreno's 2nd place, as you say. De Ferran up to 3rd. Look at that, Cristiano D'Amato in 4th place.
Yeah, he's up to 4th, and that shows you how close this championship is. He really now could become a feature for this year's title. The delight, the pleasure. We haven't got much time, I'm afraid, and we're going to have to leave talking to Cristiano for the moment, but we have witnessed his first victory, and it's going to be an emotional time for him this evening. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com. From Ben Edwards and Jeremy Shaw, goodbye for now.